Good afternoon, Scratch followers, and it's Helena here, and welcome to the first in a live online Q&A series that we're doing, and we've affectionately called it Live from the Living Room. So we're bringing you some industry experts while you're on lockdown that can answer any pressing questions that you might have on a variety of topics and subjects. So first up, we have the amazing Liza Smith. So if you don't already know, Liza Smith has been in the industry for a number of years. She's worked as a session nail stylist to so many A-list celebrities. She's made a fantastic career out of that, but she's also a multi-award winning salon owner. What Liza doesn't know about running a salon business isn't worth knowing. She is a fantastic support. So she's going to be answering your questions and offering up some advice about how to keep your business in check while we're on lockdown. And she's going to also answer any concerns that you might have. So we're going to invite her in now. Bear with me just a moment. She should be coming. If you have any questions, please pop them in the comment section below and we'll pitch them to Liza when she comes into the room. So, hi Liza, how are you?
Hi.
Nice to see you.
And
Now,
you.
Liza has been instrumental on Facebook. I've been following it and I know a number of you have. She's one of the administrators in a Facebook group called the Business of Salons. So Liza, you set this group up and it's been very active, particularly in the last couple of weeks. So what kind of questions have you had come forward from fellow business owners?
I think in the first few days, we witnessed a lot of panic. Understandably, because even someone with my experience, this is a situation that's unprecedented. So I think initially the questions were quite desperate and quite panicked. So I felt that panic myself. You know, I had a little bit of a 2-day meltdown and quite quickly found myself wanting to help others through that situation. So the initial questions were actually all based around what help can we do, what can we do, what on earth is going to happen, and that quickly settled down. There was a lot of noise online. There was a lot of unhelpful noise, I felt, and my job, I felt, was to maybe give a calm approach, and to then eventually, once everybody settled, was to bring the positive, because this is actually a really helpful set of time that we've been given. We're now time rich. So the questions that are now coming, or the conversations I'm now having, are how can we best spend our time?
And what kind of suggestions have you been giving back to that for this period of time that is unknown at the moment when businesses can reopen? How are you advising fellow business owners and nail technicians to spend this time?
I think initially what I'm trying to do, and what I suggest everybody does, is you've got two things. You've got to help people now. You've got to, if there's think about how we feel. There's a lot of help being offered to us online from coaches, from people. It's being thrown down very heavily from some quarters. So, and I think a lot of people backtrack from that, but our customers aren't probably getting that. So I think if you filter through that and then decide, how can I serve my clients right now? We've gone from hands-on to online. And that's a very difficult concept for maybe new businesses or new therapists or technicians that have never been in that position before. I often find, I'm often on Zoom calls. I'm used to dealing with people online in this situation, and I gain a lot from that knowledge. So I think, put yourself in your client's position right now. You need to build your community. And this is a time where you need to be their authority. You need to show them that you're still there. Communication is absolutely key. So one-to-one text messages explaining where you're at, what's happening, how are they. Beyond that, do little videos. I mean, all of this is being talked about online a lot, but I don't think the message has truly been given that this is a positive time. We've got this short-term thing now that we need to communicate. And then moving on, we need to think of our midterm. And our midterm would be a little bit more detailed and I'm personally rewriting my website at the moment because I just haven't had the time. You know, some of the brands I represent are not on my website. So, you know, mid to long term, everything needs to be in alignment. People are going to be online a lot. They're going to be checking you out. Is everything as it should be? You know, this is the time where we can make sure our Facebook, our Instagram, our websites, whatever mediums you use, need to say the same thing. Because if they feel confident, and if they feel confident in you because you're saying the same thing everywhere and you're saying it in a way that engages them, then you're building your community ready for when you go back.
Absolutely. I think it's so important as well to, you know, give clients that little wave to show that you're still there. You haven't dropped off the face of the earth just because you're not in business anymore. It's or for the time being. I think it instills that sense of confidence and reliability that clients have come to know and love from their nail technician and their beauty therapist. And just to kind of wave hello or reach out to them, like you said, with a text message, I think is so important at this time. And there are so many options online at the moment, and thank goodness for social media. Using that effectively is so important. But that's one way with clients. How about with staff members? Obviously you run a busy salon. You've got several members of staff and you've got apprentices as well. How have you been kind of reassuring them or making sure that they're okay and feeling secure at this time?
I think we've always been a very communicative group. I like communicating. I think I mean, WhatsApp has been an absolute godsend for the last 2 years, I think, maybe, and we've just followed that through. The first week, I must be honest, I think we was all licking our wounds a little bit, and I think I didn't want to say, right, this is what we're going to do today, we can do this training, we're going to do that, let's all have a Zoom call. That's how I first thought I was going to approach that. But I do think we allowed everybody to just have that time where, because that last day in the salon, Monday the 23rd, will go down in history for me for the most stressful day I've ever had in my whole salon life, knowing we were going to have to close their doors at 8 o'clock and we weren't ready. I'd had a 4-point plan, and we planned to open till the Friday and then close. And we'd got everyone moved forward. We do 60, 70 clients a day. So you can imagine that was traumatic. So I think my staff needed a week to sort of let go of that. So we kept it very, very, very low key. The one thing I will say, connecting this to social media, is I have asked them, and for a group of young girls, they're surprisingly shy on video and things like that. But I have ask them to give me photographs of what they're doing right now, because I do think that clients want to see what we're doing. I think they need that connection. You know, we try to introduce that to our social media when we're open, like behind the scenes. Some clients, you know, my daughter Gemma works for Montana in Gibraltar now, and if you want a lesson in how to do salon lives, follow them, because they are just so connected to their clients. So I think every salon owner needs to know their team, and sometimes people are like that, they're actually really good at communicating, but I have made sure they know that I have got it sorted. My team know that I've got, we hire a HR company, all the letters are done, everything's legally done, they know I've got their back. So I think if you can communicate every step of the way, they know you're stressed. They know, they see that, you can't hide that. But communication across all our arms of, like, us to our staff and us to our clients is crucial.
Definitely. I think honesty goes a long way as well, because you're working in such a close-knit environment as a salon owner. You're right, you do work as such a close team, and you get to know each other. In a lot of beauty businesses, you become more than just colleagues, you become friends. And being honest about the journey and what you're having to do, I think has been something that's been very prominent on social media since this happened, and something that I think is very important. But you've been very good at sort of keeping up to date as a business owner with what contingency plans can be brought into place and what benefits the government is giving to business owners. So what advice would you give to fellow salon owners that are struggling to kind of get their head around it? Where should they look? What should they do? How can they claim some sort of financial support from this?
From a personal perspective, like I said, in the first 3 or 4 days, there was a lot of noise, there was a lot of confusion, there was a lot of groups springing up out of nowhere to help people. And I think the what's the word I'm looking for? They wanted to do the right thing. The idea was in coming from the right place, but sometimes these groups get out of hand and there's thousands of people all asking the same question repeatedly, and people getting very stressed. So personally, what I did is I also have contacts with people that run businesses that are not in the salon industry, and I do feel we're an emotional bunch. You know, I do think sometimes we have to take the emotion out of our business, and that's what I did. I took the emotion out and looked at the government website. I've got a couple of fellow colleagues that I talk to on other business groups that are accountants, that are multi-million business owners. And I just watch them, you know, watch people that you think have got their shit together, you know, watch people, follow them, copy them, find somebody that makes you feel calm and feel that they're coming from an authoritative but authentic place, not a place of panic. And I do think that's settled now. I do think most people know now what they're entitled to and what they're not. But in those early days, I think it will be telling as to who had the right language and who didn't.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think we've had a couple of questions that have come through so far. One of them, I think, obviously you're an education ambassador as well, and you've helped begin a lot of journeys through this industry, and since you've been working within it. And someone has asked if they've just joined the nail industry, what advice would you give them amidst everything that's going on at the moment? You know, they're all ready and set up to start their new career. What advice would you give them now if this has happened?
Strangely enough, I've got a group of students halfway through their new journey. They're doing a liquid and powder beginners, and we've got one more full day to do with them, but we're keeping in, again, I have a WhatsApp group for everybody. So every class has its own WhatsApp group, so we have our own communication, and I'm getting them, and obviously they can't get out, they can't do anything, so they've got their hands, thank goodness, so they're doing lots of practice, and we're making sure that they're keeping in contact with me and keeping their morale up. If it's somebody that has literally just finished their training, or like my girls, right in the middle of it, I still feel that the advice I gave at the beginning applies to them. I think it's crucial that they set their stall up right now. Someone said to me the other day, so I was listening to a coach, and they said, this is unprecedented this time. Anybody, for me that's been in the business for over 30 years, for someone who's been in it 3 weeks, we've been given this time to get our stall straight. And if it's almost like I could go back to the beginning, what would I do differently? This is a time for business owners to strip out the rubbish that they shouldn't have been clinging on to, you know, niche down, find their key thing that they should be doing. And for beginners, they've got this time to get the authority out there, study, learn, do everything they can, set everything up ready, and start to talk to people, be visible. You know, the one thing I will say, I've tried desperately not to be controversial when I've been talking, and sometimes things have been said that have really pulled on my chain, and I've bit my lip. And I'm seeing repeatedly now a little bit of angst coming from self-employed nail professionals, in a way that they can't understand why employees are getting their furloughed money. But I've churned it over, and obviously I'm a salon owner, so I understand both, and I teach self-employed girls. So what they've got to remember now is if those employed girls weren't getting their money and their business owners weren't getting those grants to survive the business, they would then have to be self-employed, and they would now be their competition. Right now, they need to gain their ground. They need to make sure that they own their space and help. The clients at the moment want help They literally, we're all the same. I've got, look, I've got 2 nails missing. I've got roots coming. So we're all feeling the same. If they can't physically hands-on. They need to do 2 things. They need to keep their training up. Hopefully they've got some kind of practice hand that they can keep their skill set going, stay in communication with their educator to make sure that they've got the support, because they can very quickly get into bad habits at this stage. But building their business wise, they've got all the time in the world right now to learn, to there's a lot of free help out there. Make sure you don't do what I can sometimes do and take on everything. Decide what you're going to do, set yourself a diary and say, today I'm going to work on building a website. Tomorrow I'm going to work on aligning my brand image and my colours and all the rest of it. Set yourself a target. Make sure that you're not trying to complete 10 projects and they're all about halfway through.
I think that's something that salon owners and business owners can get their teams involved in as well, just to keep that momentum alive, get everyone involved in the brand, so that when this is all over, and it will be over, they can come back refreshed, excited to return to business, and they've been the part of the journey, even though it's been semi-dormant for a while. So it's something that I think everyone can be a part of. And just touching on your point about helping clients, because they're itching for information, and how to remove their gel nails at home now they've all completely grown out, and various pieces of advice. We published a story this morning on the Scratch magazine website, and it's shown that since salons were forced to close on the 23rd, there's been a 24% increase in online sales of nail products on last year. So clearly clients are desperate to take care of their nails, they're desperate to take care of their hands and keep them in great condition. So reflecting on that positivity, it's only going to be a great thing for when businesses do reopen and they can go back to their nail techs, because clearly there is such a demand for those services. So we're anticipating, like you said, like everyone's got roots and lashes that need doing and brows that need doing, and there are so many services that people are itching to get professionally done at the moment. So we anticipate as a magazine that there's going to be a massive surge in demand for services when this is over. How can business owners manage that effectively so it doesn't become too overwhelming?
This is my current thing I'm thinking of at the moment. I mean, right from day one, I think I was one of the few people that assumed that we would be closed for 3 months. I frightened a few salon owners that asked me questions because they were convinced we were going to be closed for 3 weeks and then open again. And the only reason I thought that wasn't the case is the government are offering 3 months worth of support. So I'm not saying we are going to be closed for 3 months, but in my brain, that was where I had to plan for. And I think the biggest problem I'm juggling with at the moment, and I'm assuming most salon owners are, is if we were to be told that we can open on the 1st of May, but we're only told 2 days before, what do we do? Do we get everyone to do 12-hour days and but the one thing that I am doing, so I'm still building my sort of thought processes about that. I'm really hoping they give us at least a week's notice. So that we can actually put a plan into place. Also, we've all have had a rest, and most nail professionals will find now that their hands have started to rest. And if you have a time of rest, when you go back, you're going to start to have aches and pains in your hand because you got used to doing what you did at full pace. So just be very careful, and it might be really worth that you just keep your hands in so that you don't get that situation, because you could end up, there's going to be a lot of RSI going on in the first week of return, not just because, like you said, there's this surge of demand, but also we've rested. So be very cautious and careful of your hands and your arms. Keep stretching, make sure that you're fit to return to work. But emotionally, I do also think that people, obviously my staff are getting 80% of their wages. They know they've got a job to come back to. They know I'm going to look after the business in the meantime. So they are relaxing emotionally. So again, going back to your previous point, it's crucial that we give them maybe a little task once a week to make sure that they are on board. I've got one member of staff that's a manager that's taken over from Gemma, and obviously I'm more in communication with her because the whole thing, the confusion is, especially me as a director of the business, I have to be very careful as to what I actually do. because I'm not allowed to generate income for the business if I'm furloughed. So it's a bit of a difficult situation, but training is allowed, communication is allowed, and you just mustn't generate money for the business. If you are self-employed and you are not furloughed, then this is a good time for you to maybe think about. The one thing I haven't mentioned that I was going to is, if you are in control of your website, if you've got your own website and you update it yourself, or even if you haven't, get someone to do it for you, on your front page or a landing page, you should have a page right now that says at home, so at home, because then you can, if you do some videos, some little help videos or some communications on what you think you can do, what you shouldn't do, you know, the whole thing about the whole gel polish kits bit, like going through the roof. I've made a massive thing on my salon page, and a lot of communication on why they should not be using gel polish at home and buying it. You probably saw Samantha's response to a journalist that asked them to provide professional products for them.
So I'll just add in.
Yeah. So, you know, that, you know, I do think that there's lots you should and could be doing right now, but the preparation to return to work, I think we're all in the dark. And what I did before we closed, I am now doing on the approach to opening, and that is a 4-point plan. If we go back next week, what are we going to do? If we go back on the 1st of May, what are we going to do? And make sure that all those scenarios, you just write notes on a page and go, this is what I do if we go back next week. This is what I do if we go back in May. So you've just got to flesh them out. You've just got to think of all the possibilities and hope that I mean, what stressed me out was the fact that I found out 8 o'clock at night that we were going to close at 8 o'clock at night. You know, so, you know, I knew as soon as someone says that, you know, that the Prime Minister is addressing the nation at 8 o'clock, you go, well, we're done. That's it. We can't follow our complete plan. So learning from that, moving forwards, I'm going to have the same 4-point plan, so that hopefully, and keep, like you say, keep the staff involved to make sure that they're ready emotionally and physically.
Fantastic. And just a little shameless scratch plug off the back of one of the things that you said about nail technicians keeping busy and keeping you know, their hands busy and into something creative before they get back to work. At the moment we have Scratch Snap, that is open until next week, and it's a competition where if you create an Easter themed design and tag us, then you have the chance to win a huge bundle of products. Details about that are on social media and on the website. And we have launched during lockdown the Creative Challenge. So each week we're setting between 1 and 2 themes. This week we're just doing one because it's a huge one. It's for frontline workers. So we're encouraging people to create nail art for frontline workers, and we're publishing that on our gallery as well. So keep an eye out on social media for those themes. So shameless plug there, but it's something to keep us busy.
We've got to stay connected. You know, we've got to do it, you know, for numerous reasons, but the connection in the industry has to stay positive.
Definitely. And just one final word of advice before we wrap up. What encouragement and what final word would you give to our nail professionals out there that are going through the same kind of things as you?
My final word would be, we are time rich right now, and this is a God-given thing that we have never been given in ever. Even before I started my business, I went straight from college into opening my business. So I've never had this time to reflect and perfect. And this is a positive time. It's not like your clients can go anywhere else right now. You know, if you have been sadly very poorly for 3 months and had to withdraw from your business for 3 months, everybody else would still be working and still be in competition with you. But right now we're all in the same boat. So now is the time to get your ducks in a row, to get your business learnt, to know your figures, to get your brand online. Everything needs to be in alignment, and you've got that time. I'm thoroughly enjoying myself. I really am. I you know, apart from the fact that I've put on half a stone, I think everybody's in the same boat. I'm looking here, I'm thinking, oh my God. So yeah, you know, the downside is that we're all gonna need to go on diets when we get back to work. But I'm hoping that the velocity of the return is going to burn off the calories. But yeah, just use this time. This time is given, and we're all in the same boat. There is no competition out there right now. The ones that will survive are the ones that stay alive, you know, the ones that stay visible.
Exactly. And just for everyone watching out there, take a look at the Facebook group that Lisa is a admin of, the Business of Salons. It's fantastically useful. And follow Lisa on social media for updates. I'm sure she'll keep you up to date with her journey as well as we're going through. So
if anyone wants to message me privately, it's perfectly fine. I know this is a very, very personal subject sometimes, and nobody wants to tell anyone that they're struggling, but if anyone wants to message me personally, it's happening all the time. It's fine. You know, sometimes a live forum is not the place to ask that question that you need to know. So
that's very kind of you, Lisa, and thank you so much for joining us today. Great
pleasure.
for the nail industry. So from my living room to yours,
Yes.
thank you so much. And this will be available on our Facebook and our Instagram pages afterwards. So thank you very much, Lisa.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Cheers. Bye. Bye.